Hey, what's up, everyone? I have a confession. On April 1st, 2025, I shared something false. I posted a teaser about a new episode of Raw Travel North Korea Undercover coming soon. That was and remains an April Fool's joke. I haven't been to North Korea, and I'm definitely not going now. Now, I posted this because it was April Fool's Day. I thought it might be fun, and I wanted to make a small point about how easy it is to spread disinformation. It was also kind of a social experiment. I wanted to see how many people took it seriously, how many understood it was a joke or raised an eyebrow and questioned it. So, to your credit, most of you recognized it was a joke or questioned it. So, congratulations, you passed. For the past 3 years, especially since I began advocating for Ukraine, I have been relentlessly exposed to Russian disinformation by bots and trolls. Or I've noticed other people here in the US repeating secondhand disinformation, much of which circulates so widely that it's almost impossible to pinpoint its origins. Disinformation has been so pervasive in American society for the past few years that it now feels native to Americans. But don't be fooled. It is Russia's #1 export, bar none. Since I began filming in Ukraine, I've worked hard to be able to spot disinformation, regardless of its origins and intent. I've read books, watched documentaries, and spoken to experts in the field. Although I would not claim to be an expert, I am much more well versed in spotting propaganda and disinformation than 3 years ago. Much. But once more, it's not only me or Ukraine supporters who are targeted. This affects you. And when I say you, I mean everyone. Thanks to AI, disinformation is becoming increasingly difficult to spot. As social media removes its moderation and online safety guardrails, bots have taken over and the problem worsens daily. You've probably noticed it. But we're not powerless or destined to drown in this flood of deception. We do have resources at our disposal. The most important skill, I think, is critical thinking. It can be learned, and it should be taught in our schools, starting at a young age, just as they do in Finland. Critical thinking skills are taught in Finnish grammar schools as soon as children are old enough to attend, and they continue teaching it through graduation. Thanks to this, multiple generations of Finns have been inoculated and are now much better equipped for this brave new world than almost anyone. So why does Finland do this? Well, they have a long border and a long and distraught history with Russia, which has tried to control and manipulate them. Any of that sound familiar? Bot and troll farms can, at least superficially, originate from various countries, such as El Salvador, the Philippines, China, Iran, and yes, North Korea. If you name a country ruled by an authoritarian leader, I'll name a nation that uses bot and troll farms to manipulate and influence its citizens. Even right here in the good old US of A today. But the granddaddy of all psyops warfare in the world is Russia. They are the masters and the most disruptive force in the United States and Europe. Russia has reportedly spent over $1 trillion to manipulate us, amplify divisions, and distort messages. They are masters at mixing lies with truth, taking things out of context, setting up fake accounts, pretending to be your friends or supporters, all the while working surreptitiously and openly to achieve their objectives. What are their objectives? That's a good question. Russia faces so many social issues, including some of the highest rates of HIV infection, drug abuse, abortion, alcoholism, and divorce worldwide. There are also many abandoned and orphaned children. Life expectancy in Russia is significantly lower than in most Western countries. Inequality is, of course, rampant. The justice system is a joke, and free speech is non-existent. But instead of fixing those issues and bettering Russian society, the oligarch-run government decided that its money was better spent trying to drag other societies down to Russia's level. $1 trillion later, they have been somewhat successful. The United States is Exhibit A. So what's the answer? Education is a long-term solution, and there is no political will in the U.S. now, as those in power benefit significantly from the very situation this would address, maybe at a future date. But as I said, right now, we are not powerless. Here are some suggestions that have helped me better spot and combat disinformation. Number one, obtain a media bias chart for reference. You can go to allsides.com or another credible source and download one and refer to it often. This can assist you. You can tell if stories from a source are biased left or right. Do they adhere to journalistic standards or not? Are they credible? Another tool I enjoy using is a fantastic website called Snopes.com. Snopes investigates news stories to see if they're likely true or false. I subscribe to their newsletter, so check them out, snopes.com. Check them out. For my news, I use the Associated Press feed at least once daily. The AP is a nonprofit newswire organization that has existed since the late 1800s. They're the epitome of credible journalism. However, the White House recently banned them from the Oval Office because they refused to call the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America. This principled stand gives me all the more reason to trust the Associated Press. Now, if you have the energy, here are some books I recommend. Russia's War on Everybody by Keir Giles, and then This Is Not Propaganda by Peter Pomerantsev. These books are excellent. See documentaries, and once you educate yourself, help educate others. I'm continuing to learn and educate myself so I can fight this battle. I'll make recommendations and provide tips on how everyone can better identify disinformation and call it out for what it is. As I learn, you can learn, and maybe you can teach me a thing or two. Let's build a community of disinformation fighters and fact warriors. Facts should not be partisan. Truth doesn't care who you voted for. But unless we can agree on the facts and what is accurate, we'll never find solutions to pressing issues, much less common ground with our fellow citizens. Believe it or not, even travel journalism requires work, effort, and yes, ethics. That's why, unless it's April Fool's Day, I pledge to you that I will always tell you the truth as I see it, based on evidence, a trusted source, something I witnessed myself, have studied and put effort into learning, or anything other than simply pulling an opinion about something I know nothing about out of my ass. To paraphrase Mark Twain, it's better to remain silent and be thought a fool than to speak up and remove all doubt. Yes, I'm human, so I will admit when I make a mistake because I'm bound to make one, and I'll correct the record as soon as possible. That's my pledge. Now, will the big media companies follow my lead? Anyway, that's my lecture on disinformation today. I will share more as time goes on. If you'll excuse me, I'm late for my dinner with dear leader Kim Jong-un, and he does not like to be kept waiting.